everyone, I'm Dr. Mark Evans. I'm the head teacher for Filbrit International Academy UK. The benefits of homeschooling are many, but the number one I think is that you control your own learning. You control the learning for your child, or if you're a bit older, you control the learning yourself. It gives you an awful lot of options that you don't have if you have to go to a traditional school. There's nothing wrong with a traditional school, but it just doesn't suit some people. There's a famous rule called the 80-20 rule, and I think traditional school often suits 80% of the students, but the other 20% struggle. One of the advantages for homeschoolers is that they can study basically when they want to. So if you're somebody who likes to study early in the morning, you can get up early and study. You can also study late at night, as long as you're not disrupting the rest of your family. So those are just a few of the benefits of homeschool. Well, I think teaching strategies for homeschooling is probably the wrong question. It's teaching strategies for individual learners. Whether you're 3 years old or 13-year-old or 23 years old, it doesn't really matter. There will be particular ways that you prefer to learn. One of the most common ways of dividing learners up is to think about people who learn by looking, visual learners, people who learn by hearing, auditory learners, and people who learn by doing things, kinesthetic learners. And there probably is another group, and I'm in that group, which is read-write learners. I much prefer to read and then write what I'm learning. If you tell me something, I probably won't remember it. It tends to go in this ear and out that ear. But there are many, many different types of learners, and you have to find out what works best for you. One of the problems for being homeschooling is that you have to work with your mum or dad or whoever is being your tutor at home to work out the best way that you learn, and it may not be the best way that your mum and dad learn. So once you've established that, then really you have the same options available to you as any learner. You can learn online, you can learn from books, you can learn by talking to people, you can very definitely learn from your classmates. One of the biggest questions that people have about homeschooling is about socialisation, because obviously if you imagine a traditional homeschool where the learner is sitting at home in their room or somewhere in the house, somewhere in the apartment, you're imagining a child or a learner who's not working with anybody else. We work very hard to make sure that that's not true, because social development is just as important as academic development. So all of our homeschoolers will have opportunities to meet each other, either online or face-to-face. Where it's possible, we do like our learners to meet face-to-face. And it's been wonderful seeing our homeschoolers getting together sometimes, particularly after the pandemic when we were all locked down, getting together and learning from each other. And that's certainly one of the most important things that we look at and we try and support our learners. So it can be through us, through the homeschool, or it can also of course be through your family, because lots of our learners do other activities. They might play football or go swimming or go biking. They might be singing in a choir or playing a musical instrument. There's lots and lots of different ways that people can benefit from social development or socialisation. And actually some of our homeschoolers for sure have a more exciting social life than many children who go to traditional schools. Because if you're going to traditional school, you're basically in the school from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 or 5 o'clock at night. If you're benefiting from homeschooling, you can actually organise your curriculum, your day, your week in exactly the way that you want to. And so I know that we have some students who do lots and lots of work on Monday and then do nothing at all academically on Tuesday, because they're very busy doing jiu-jitsu or going swimming or painting or singing or whatever it is that they do. So there are lots of opportunities for socialisation, either through Filbrit, through the homeschool, or in your own family, in your own community. Well, that's another really good question. Assessment in many people's mind equates with an examination, a written assessment, and that's really a very, very small part of the process. Assessment can be through quizzes or a written assessment, but assessment is actually happening all the time, whether it's from the teacher or from the parent at home who's taking the role of the teacher, or even from the learner themselves, because you can assess yourself. What we like to talk about is formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment is really the way that you measure how much progress you're making so that you know what to do next. Summative assessment is the big written exam for our year 11s and our year 13s. That would be GCSE or A-level. That's the big exam that you take at the end of a program of learning. But assessment actually happens all the time, and you can be testing yourself just by even closing the book and asking yourself, okay, did I learn that? That's assessment. It's the same as a teacher asking you a question, and skilled teachers in the classroom or at home are the ones who can be assessing all the time. They don't even think about the fact that they're assessing. They're actually making sure that the learners are making progress and have understood what's being talked about in the lesson. I suppose three main resources. That one is absolutely enormous, without end really. The resources that are available on the internet are uncountable, and we have collected a lot of resources, a lot of websites together, and those are accessible to all of our learners and all of our families. But many families will go off and find their own websites that suit their style of learning. So the internet is a fantastic resource for learning. Second is books. I'm a great believer in books. I love reading myself. I love going to libraries, and I think books are probably the best source of information that you can get. And whether you're reading factual books or whether you're reading fiction, you're learning all the time. You can never stop learning if you're reading and reading. And the third resource is other people. We all learn from each other, and that's a really important resource as well. So you put those three sources together, and there are more sources that you can use for your learning than you could possibly have time to use. So if you have questions about homeschooling, then we would be delighted to answer them. I would say the first 1,000 questions are free. After 1,000 we start charging, but I'm only joking, because actually we would answer those questions for free too. Nobody can persuade you to be a homeschooler. I will never try and persuade anybody to be a homeschooler, but I will answer your questions. I believe very strongly in families and learners having options. So you should have options to do homeschooling or options to go to traditional school. And remember, nowadays there are all sorts of options in between. Certainly in terms of Filbrit International Academy UK, we've created 3 separate options even within the one homeschool, so that families who want a lot of attention given from the teacher can opt for that. Families who would prefer to have much more emphasis on the home learning and opportunities at home, we can cater for that as well. But really, whatever your questions are, please don't hesitate to contact us. We are delighted to answer your questions.